6. Zero sex, zero clashes.
Where do quarrels occur in this world? Only where there is infatuation and attraction. For how long do the quarrels exist? As long as sexual interaction exists, quarrels exist. Then you start doing mine, yours. Pick up your bag from here. Why have you kept saris in my bag, etc.? These quarrels exist as long as you are united in sex. And once you have become free from sex, there is no problem even if the things are kept in your bag. These quarrels would not take place then, would they?
But seeing all this sends shivers down my body. It is also amazing that despite daily quarrels, husband or wife does not feel like coming up with a solution. Is it not, Dada?
This has been going on for so many years, ever since they got married. They quarrel on one hand and continue to have sex with each other on the other hand. That is why I have said that both should take the vow of brahmacharya, and then their lives would be of the highest quality. All the fights are for selfish reasons. She knows that he is not going to go anywhere away from her. He too knows that she is not going to go away from him. Thus, the relationship survives only to serve each other's selfish needs. Everything remains, the fights and the sex, unchanged. Misery of dependency on sex is greater than the transient happiness derived from it. When one realizes this, he will be free from the false infatuation and grip of sex. It is only then that he would impress females. Otherwise, they feel that they can play with him through the medium of sexuality. The impression of this nature gradually leads to an aura of awe and respect. Thereafter, they leave him alone. Otherwise, even the greatest of spiritual men in this world have suffered at the hands of women and their sexual ploy. Only the vitrags, the liberated ones, have understood this as is. It is because of their aura of purity that women stayed away from them. Otherwise, women carry so much power that they can make any man helplessly subordinate to them in no time. This is the nature, sexual character of women. You must stay away from women. You must not try and deceive them, otherwise you yourself will come under their deception. And this web of misery has been happening for many lives. When a woman pushes her husband around and scolds him repeatedly, what is the reason behind it? It is because the man is deeply passionate about sexual gratification. The woman does not push him around just because she feeds him food. She does so because of sex. No woman would push a man around if he were not interested in sex. She takes advantage of this weakness, but if there were no weakness, she would not be able to bother him in any manner. Women are very deceitful, and men are naive. So, the man has to keep sexual desire under control for 2 to 4 months. She will then get tired, and she would not be able to control the man. When will a woman respect you and be deferential to you? If you are very sensitive about sex, easily aroused by sexuality, then she would control you. If you are sexual, but not sensitive, not easily aroused, then she will develop respect for you. If she invites you for sex and you say not now, then after 2 to 3 days, she will stay under your command. Otherwise, you will be under her control. I understood this at the age of 15. Some people beg for sex. You fool! Do you have to beg for sex? What would happen to you if you did? What will the woman do? She will abuse you. She will boss you around. Hold this child and go take care of him. Our Mahatmas have sex, but they do not have the craving for it. One woman makes her husband prostrate to her 4 times before she will allow him to touch her once. You fool, why don't you go and jump in the ocean instead? What is wrong in doing that? Take samadhi, final peace in the sea. At least the sea is straightforward. At least there is no hassle there. What kind of nonsense is this of prostrating for sex?
Before, I used to think that all these clashes and arguments in the home were due to matters and work of the household. But disputes occur, even when I try to help her around the house.
Those disputes and clashes will continue. As long as there is sexual interaction, clashes will continue. This is the root of all clashes. The person who has conquered sex has such an aura about him that no one will bother him. No one can conquer him. When sexual interaction with Hiraba stopped, I started calling her Hiraba. Ba means mother. After that, we haven't had any difficulties. And whatever difficulties and clashes we had before were due to sex. But as long as there is the after effect of the bite of sex, clashes will remain. Even after cessation of overt sexual interaction, the after effects of the prior sexual interaction remain for some time and then end. So do the clashes. I am telling you this from personal experience. Look at the wonder of this science. All the clashes, not only with the wife, but with the whole world, stop. This science is such, and you are free when all clashes end. When an intense dislike for sex arises, only then would sex stop. Otherwise, how else can it be stopped?
7. Sex is beastliness.
People of my time were very good about one thing. They did not harbor much sexual thoughts. They did not have sexual intentions towards women. There were maybe 5 to 7% of such people who were sexually hungry. They would seek widows who had no one else living at home. In my youth, every girl was addressed as sister, even if she was not related. This was the common practice. Until the age of 10 or 11, there was such innocence in sexual matters that I used to run around without any shorts. No thoughts about sex would arise. So, there was no problem. That is why there were no hassles. There was no awareness of sex.
Was this because of some kind of a community pressure?
No, not due to any community pressure. It was the upbringing, the values instilled by the parents. A 3-year-old child would not know that its parents had this kind of a relationship. This is how good their secrecy was. And if need be, then on that day the children would sleep in another room. These are the values of the parents. These days, the bedrooms are here and there. Plus, they have double beds, don't they? In those days, no man would sleep in the same area where a woman was sleeping. There was a saying in those days that if a man sleeps the whole night with a woman, he would become a woman. Her female nature would influence him. So no one did this. It is some smart person who discovered about sleeping together so that double beds keep selling. This has been the cause of the downfall of people. What has one gained from this downfall? All the contempt for the females has disappeared. Now it would not take long to make the ones who have gone down to come up. How can there be double beds in Hindustan? What type of animals are they? The men and women of Hindustan were never together in one room. They always stayed in separate rooms. But instead, look at it nowadays. Nowadays, the father himself makes the bedroom with a double bed for his son. And so they take it for granted that this is the practice in the world. I have seen all this. If men left the company of women and stayed away from them for 15 days, they would become like God. What is unaccompanied shayasan or bed? It means that you do not share your bed or your seat with anyone, including the opposite sex. There's no physical contact between husband and wife. The writers of the scriptures used to believe to such an extent that if you sit on the same seat where the opposite sex was sitting, then you will be affected by him or her. You would have thoughts about him or her.
Dada, What form of karma is bound from sexual interaction and sexuality?
The karma of entry into the animal life form is bound. The entire spectrum of sexuality is itself the animal state. In the olden days in Hindustan, there used to be sexless sex. That is, sex was only for the purpose of giving a gift of a son or a daughter.
Dada, you stress brahmacharya and show abhorrence towards abrahmacharya. But by encouraging this, the population of humans in this world will also decrease. What is your opinion about this?
There has not been any decrease in population after so many surgeries like vasectomy and tubal ligation. Then, how is brahmacharya going to decrease it? They are trying to reduce the population through surgeries and still it is not going down. Brahmacharya is a great thing for liberation.
Dada, is it not considered abhorrence towards a natural process?
This sexuality in man is not a natural process. It is animalistic behavior. If it were a natural process, there would not be a need for brahmacharya. These poor animals practice brahmacharya. They have sex only for 15 to 20 days in certain seasons and then they do not.
8. The continuous bliss of the self, brahmacharya.
After receiving this Dadashri's Gnan, is practicing brahmacharya a must?
It is a must for those who can practice it, and it is not necessary for those who cannot. If it were a must, then those not practicing brahmacharya would not be able to sleep at night, in the fear of not being able to attain liberation. It is enough to just realize that brahmacharya is wrong.
Philosophers say that suppressing sex is against the law of nature and makes one even more perverted. They say that sex is necessary for good health.
They are right. Sex is necessary for those who are ignorant of the self, ajnanis, the worldly people. Those who understand brahmacharya do not need sex. The one who does not understand brahmacharya cannot be bound by the rules of brahmacharya. Otherwise, major damage will be done and he will be destroyed. Sex is such a thing that one day's sexual activity would not let one attain any meaningful concentration on anything for 3 days. There would be instability in the concentration and focus on the task at hand. When one abstains from sex for a month, his stability in concentration and focus is greatly improved. Abrahmacharya and alcohol are two things that bring a very heavy veil of ignorance over Gnan. Therefore, one must be very vigilant in these two matters. Alcohol is such that it even makes one forget I am Chandulal. Then the pure soul would definitely be forgotten, wouldn't it? That is why the Lord has said that you should be scared of it. The person who has a complete experience of the self would not be affected. Still, there lies tremendous danger in its ability to uproot the Lord's Gnan and throw it out. The one who wants to have the total experience of the self must definitely not have any element of sexuality, and that too is not a rule. If in the last 15 years of his last life, one has been free of sexuality, then it is good enough. It is not necessary to take up this extreme exercise of brahmacharya life after life. Letting go of sexuality should be a natural process, so that it goes away on its own. Your unflinching internal decision should be that until you attain liberation, whatever 2 to 4 more lives you may have left, it is best if they go without being married. There is nothing like it. How long will this total experience of the self elude you? As long as any element of sexual impulses or sexuality remains, this will not happen. This means that when pleasure arises, it is difficult to discern exactly whether it stems from the self or from sex. If brahmacharya is present, then it could be understood on the moment that it indeed is the bliss of the self. When one has this total clear experience of the self, then one becomes the fully enlightened Lord.
Dada Bhagwan na asim jai jaikar ho. Dada Bhagwan na asim jai jaikar ho. भगवान ना असीम जय जयकार हो।